My name's Mary.
Mary. Nice to meet you.
I'm 35. I'm married. My husband has 3 kids and I have 2. So we're a great big family of 7. We had 4 dogs, and then I just let the girls adopt these neighborhood cats the night before the evacuation. So it was 5 kids, 4 dogs, 2 cats. I went to work early because I work for Feather River Hospital, and I thought, because we could tell the fire was close because our kids were hitting ashes the size of dinner plates out of the sky, but there was no warning and nobody knew how close the fire was, so we figured, just like the Reading fire, that it was close, but we weren't in any danger. So I went to work early just in case they needed to evacuate the hospital. I could be a helping hand. And they evacuated me 10 minutes after I got there. And I was at the outpatient center in the middle of town. And they did an emergency evacuation. When I walked out, the yard next to me in the middle of town was on fire. And so I ran home. This is before traffic was just totally insane. And we gathered a bunch of stuff. And then nobody came to evacuate us. Things just started getting crazier and exploding. It got harder to breathe. It was pitch black outside, even though it was 9 in the morning. The smoke was really thick. So there were explosions and sirens, and we just knew we needed to get out, right? So we left, and all the lanes heading southwest were full. So the middle turning lane, they were all heading down. His mom was in a retirement community, and I called 911 because we couldn't get to her. And I said, we need help evacuating her. And they said, ma'am, I don't know what to tell you. I'm just here supporting phone calls. You're like the 10th caller. She said, I'm going to try to put you through to 911. It was busy. So she said, I'm going to try one more time. So I got through and they said, we'll put her on the list. And then they called me 4 days later. So we knew we needed to act fast, and we had a dirt bike in the back of our truck. So my husband and my 18-year-old stepson unloaded the dirt bike and went and rescued his 75-year-old mother on a dirt bike.
In moving traffic, we had to unload this bike.
It was slow moving, but it was moving. I have videos. By the time we got it, so it's not very far. It's probably a half mile to the main road from our house. By the time we started going down Clark, it was just a wall of fire, and everyone had to move over to the left to get away from the heat. And then it started going up it went up on the right, we got over to the left, and it started going up on the left. And that was really, really scary. We got separated.
That was scary.
Yeah, we got separated, and I ran back to do like an emergency meeting place. We didn't know Skyway was on fire, and I thought that was my way out. And so I said, meet me at the lookout point. Well, it was all on fire, but we didn't know. We thought the fire was coming up the canyon on Clark Road, but it was everywhere. It happened so fast. And
I directed you to Row Road.
Yeah.
And I went straight and got connected to Skyway. So the fact that she was in a different place than me was really frightening, because she had all the kids and I had my mom. And cell phone service wasn't so great, and I just kept communicating with her until we got cut off. But she had a horrible experience on Row Road, and
we knew we were surrounded by fire, and they made me go left, and I didn't want to, but they needed to make room for emergency vehicles, and so they had me go left down Foster, and I got stuck on Row, which comes out at Neal, which is another way out of town, and we were stuck there for I don't even know how long, at least 45 minutes, maybe an hour. And obviously the fire was moving fast. It started out small when I left, and less than an hour later it was a wall of flames. So all 5 kids, no cell phone service, just sitting there in the pitch dark, and the cars weren't even inching forward. We were completely at a dead stop. So I freaked out, and I got a bar on my phone. I was praying really, really hard. I just wanted to be able to call my husband and see if he got out safely or if he was on the road with me. So I got a hold of him just long enough to hear that he was in Chico, and I was still stuck in Paradise. And so then our call dropped, and I told him we were on Row Road.
That's not what I wanted to hear. I didn't want her to be on that part of town because I knew that place was on fire, and I thought she'd be down the Skyway with me. So, and then her cell phone service dropped, and that was very discouraging to hear that happening. And I just kept trying for a couple hours, not knowing what was happening, just waiting to hear anything, and just knowing that all my kids and all my family are up there in that car on the part that's being hit right now with fire, and it's just a horrible experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you lose your house?
We lost everything. Yeah. Well, I mean, we have our car. We didn't abandon our cars. I had another bar for a second, and I was able to call 911 again. And I said, the road is on fire in front of me. The whole town is on fire behind me. We're not moving, you know. I'm gonna hike out of here on foot. I just wanted to keep my kids alive. That's all I cared about. So I said, where should I go? Should I head back towards Clark? Should I go towards Skyway? Because I didn't know Skyway was on fire. And he said, ma'am, there's nowhere to go. The whole town's on fire. I suggest you stay in a group. And I got really mad at that answer because staying in a group was not going to keep me alive. And so I had started already hiking on foot at that point with nowhere to go. So we just walked back to the car, and I was thinking I could try. I mean, there were so many trees everywhere. There was no clearings for me to like hide in an open clearing, you know. And I thought about gently breaking into a house and hoping and praying that it would skip that house. And then the traffic started moving. And we lost a kitty when we were running back to the car to get in, which was very upsetting. We had 2 13-year-old girls, and so that was really hard for them. But I was like, I don't get in the car right now. You are my priority, and I'm getting you out of here. So finally, the volunteers or whoever it was directing traffic came, and they had garden hoses, and they were spraying the yard around them. And they directed us through the fire, and we had to drive through the fire to safety. And so at that point, I was just feeling like I was in survival mode. You know, if anything, I was angry at the people who had sent me down there in the first place with no one on the other side to, you know, help us. It was just unorganized. They were understaffed, and it just happened too fast, you know. So I lost it after I got out. The fire got further away. The sky opened up. It started looking like day. That's when I lost it, and I probably bawled my head off for 40 solid minutes.
When I was driving through, I went through on the Skyway, and that's when I could see the Feather River Health Center was starting to catch on fire, and all the houses across the street were starting to catch on fire. Telephone poles were starting to catch flame, and you could see where the flames were going across the wires, and they were just dripping hot melted wire down on the cars. And I had a dirt bike in the back of my truck, and I knew I didn't want that dripping on me, so you kind of had to look up and time it just right, just to make sure that you weren't sitting under it while you're waiting in traffic to go. So you had to make some clearings, and you just had to dart for it. And when I was driving, there was a telephone pole that came down, crashing down right next to me. Another car in front of me got some of the line hooked to his bumper, and he was dragging it. and I veered off into another car. I hit another car just to avoid this telephone line getting drugged onto my truck, and that was really scary. And you can't get too far to the left or too far to the right because there's fire on both sides of you. So it was kind of just you got to play your driving just right and make sure you're kind of stay in the middle and figure out what's on top of you because things are falling on you as well. And it was frightening. So
how are you guys coping now? After all of this, I know. How are you coping? How are you getting by? How are you guys living right now?
Just keeping our heads up one day at a time. Just knowing that we're surrounded by good people, and it's survival mode right now. It might hit us with some PTSD a few months from now, but right now it's just a lot of changes are happening, and just going with the flow and a lot of moving around. So
where are you staying?
We're staying in a hotel, so we couldn't find anything local. And after the incident and the fire was still out of control, I didn't want to stay in Butte County, so we stayed with some family for 2 nights down in Lincoln, and then we got a hotel in Sacramento because it was the closest. Then I got us one in Yuba City, and then I got us one. We had just moved today to Orville. I found one for us. We did find a rental, but it's in Plumas Lake, which is southwest of Marysville, and it's so far away from our community, which is scattered. It's not just a house, it's our entire community. It's gone. Everything is gone. Our daily lives, our friends, our kids' friends, everyone's everywhere. There's bidding wars over houses. There's nowhere to live in Butte County, and we have to move really far away just to find a home. It's awful.
How about your work, your job?
I don't have a job anymore because I work for Feather River.
For what?
Feather River Hospital. Yeah. And even the houses that are standing, it doesn't really matter because we're not going back. We won't be able to rebuild. They're not issuing permits for 1 to 3 years. The power lines and the utilities, and for people's houses that are standing, they're in the same boat as us. It doesn't matter that they're standing. They don't get to go home. So
fortunately, I still have a job at Orville Hospital, so that's good. But it's really challenging when you're that far away, though, in Plumas Lake, to want to commute to work.
It's too far. He does 12-hour night shifts, and I don't want him commuting. It scares me.
What do you do?
I'm a registered nurse.
Oh wow! And you are?
I was a patient access representative, which is just a fancy way of saying a secretary. Yeah.
And you have 5 children.
5 kids. Yeah.
So it's fun, and they seem to be adjusting fairly well, but
I don't think they realize
what
the impact
happened
it's
really.
going to have on their lives yet, Right now it's like, oh, they're at grandma's or they're in a hotel, but, when they actually start living in Plumas Lake and they're that far away, I think it's going to start hitting them how huge and how life-changing this catastrophe has been. Right now, they just don't get it.
Because we're still processing it as adults,
Yeah.
and we're still kind of in denial about a lot of stuff. But when you sit in your motel room and it's not home anymore, it's a reality shock, and it's hard eating out at different restaurants every night.
I asked him today,
I don't like it.
I go, what do you want? I said, do you want to go get Subway today? Because I was dying just for some vegetables. And he goes, I don't want anything.
I just want a home-cooked meal.
Yeah,
I'll make my own food in my own kitchen and make it how I want it. And it's not like that. You can't even go to a motel and cook. You got a little tiny refrigerator and a
little microwave.
and I don't like microwave food. So but we're fortunate to have that. A lot of people don't have that, so it's like
Yeah, we are
I'm not gonna
fortunate.
complain about it because
I have friends that are in shelters. There are people in tents
could be a whole
camped
lot
in the
worse.
middle of Chico and outside of Walmart, and they're having to deal with the cold and the rain, and they have families, and they're way worse off than us. So we have things to complain about, but we're really blessed to be where we are right now.
I got a question for you. If you could speak to churches across California and tell them how we could pray for you and how we could help bring hope, what would you say?
I would say direction. Pray for direction and
Yeah.
decisions that we're gonna have to make that
We don't want to
we don't want to make, and they're so hard to make because they're life changing. Like, you know, different places to live, where you're gonna send your kids to school, just things that it's all interlinked with, you know, the community and
We just feel very lost and very scared right now. And even though we have a home that we get to move into and it's beautiful, we just want to go home. So we need some direction, and it'd be nice to go up there and get some closure, you know. They're not letting anyone in. It's just hard. We're all just really lost. So, yeah.